Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. And today we are,
Diving deep
diving deep
into Indonesia.
into an interesting case out of Indonesia
Yes.
from their constitutional court.
Constitutional Court, the MK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to do with the 2024 election for regent and deputy regent in Serang Regency.
Yeah. A very important election, obviously, for those in that regency.
Yeah.
And
we have the official ruling from the court's website.
Right, from the MK website.
Yeah.
It's right there.
This is the real deal, and this is why they're disputing the election results.
Yeah, and so today we want to kind of take you through that and help everyone understand
If you're listening along with us,
how we got here.
we're going to kind of unpack this for you and understand the reasons behind this pretty huge decision
Sure.
to annul the election and order a whole revote.
Right. A whole new election.
So where do we even
Let's just jump right into it.
begin with this? What was the central issue?
The central issue that the court really focused on was what they viewed as undue influence
Yeah.
and a pretty clear conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah, that sounds bad.
It does. And at the center of this was the Minister of Villages Development of Disadvantaged Regions.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
The Mendes PDT, we'll call him, Yandri Susanto.
Okay, Mendes PDT, Andre Susanto.
Got it.
So what's his connection to this specific election?
Well, he's married to Ratu Rahmatu Zakia, who was candidate number 2 for Bupati, for regent.
Oh, so his wife was running.
Exactly.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty clear conflict right there.
It does.
So how did the court decide, or, how did they find that he had actually exerted this undue influence?
So they looked at evidence, and they found that he participated in events where he was directing village heads to support his wife's campaign.
Oh, so he was really campaigning for his wife.
He was.
Okay.
A key example was this working meeting of the Serang Regency chapter of APDSI,
APD's.
the All Indonesia Village Governments Association.
Okay.
That happened on October 3rd, 2024.
So he was at this meeting telling people to vote for his wife.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, so why are these village heads so important in this case?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
The court recognized that village heads and their administrations are actually under the Mendes PDT's ministry.
Oh.
So there's that relationship there,
right.
which creates, a certain level of dependency.
More dynamic.
Right, and a potential for, undue influence.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So was there any testimony to support this idea of influence?
There was
Oh, really?
a guy named Holman, who is the head of the Shong Pandan village and also the secretary of the Serang Regency, APDESI.
Okay.
He testified.
So he was at that meeting too?
He was at that meeting.
Yeah.
And he testified that he actually coordinated with the campaign team of candidate pair number 2 after that event
To the meeting.
to try to make sure that they won in the villages.
Oh, wow.
So there you have it.
Okay, so how does that become a violation of election law?
Well, that's where this law comes in. Article 71, paragraph 1
Mhm.
of law number 10 of 2016. It's also called Pilkada.
Pilkada.
Okay, which basically deals with elections of governors, regents, and mayors.
Okay.
And what that article says is that state officials, regional officials, civil servants, military police, and village heads can't do things that benefit or harm a candidate.
Oh, so he was a state official doing something to benefit a candidate.
And the court was very clear
Okay.
that a minister is a state official.
So this is like a textbook case
Yeah.
of this violation.
That seems like it.
So they're saying that because he's the minister
Right.
and he has influence over these village heads,
Right,
and those village heads have influence over the voters,
right.
that his actions had an effect on the election.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And it's interesting to note that
Yeah.
even though the Bawaslu,
The what? The Laszlo.
the election supervisory body, didn't recommend anything against him,
Interesting.
the court still found
They still found.
that there was a link between his actions and the support that his wife got.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
So what happened then? What did the court do?
well, they annulled the election results.
So they threw out the results.
They threw out the results.
Wow.
They basically said, okay, we need a whole new election,
A revote.
a revote, a Pemangatan Suara Ulang, or a PSU
Oh, PSU.
in every polling station in Serang Regency.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that work?
So they have to use the original voter lists from November 2024, and they have 60 days from the court's decision.
So 60 days from February 24, 2025
That's right.
to hold a whole new election.
To redo the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and who's in charge of all that?
So the Serang Regency KPU, the General Election Commission,
Okay.
they organize it, but there's a lot of oversight
Okay.
from national and the Banten Province KPUs and Bawaslis.
Okay.
And, of course, the police are there to provide security.
Right. So everyone's got to be involved to make sure this is done right.
Exactly.
Okay. So one last thing. Were the candidates themselves, did they do anything wrong?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The court didn't actually find any evidence that candidate para number 2 was,
Was actively involved.
orchestrating all this.
Okay.
But they clearly benefited from it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're listening to this, what should we take away from this whole thing?
Yeah.
What did we learn?
I think the big thing is,
Yeah.
impartiality in elections is really important.
Super important. Yeah.
And especially when you've got these high-ranking officials who have these personal interests.
Right. Their own interests.
It can really interfere with the democratic process.
Yeah. It can really affect things at the local level.
It can.
And this was a very clear case of that.
Yeah, a clear violation of that principle.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, what do you think?
What could this mean for future elections?
Yeah. Is this going to change anything? How are we going to make sure that elections in Indonesia are fair and democratic going forward?
Yeah. What do you think are the checks and balances enough?
Yeah. Are they going to be able to catch these things, or are we going to see more of this in the future?
Something to think about.
Yeah. Definitely food for thought.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. And we'll see you next time.
See you later.